Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well and I hope you're staying safe out there. Today is Sunday, so that means it's Slaughter Sunday with Sally. I am obviously Sally and what I do here is I research the crap out of cases like true crime, or I cannot say true crime and it drives me bloody insane. True crime, conspiracy theories, urban legends, mysteries, and I sit down and I do a video for you. And I hope that you join in with the conversation too by commenting on my videos. Also, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you hit the little bell notification, it will let you know every time I upload a video. Normally it's a Sunday. I do my Slaughter Sunday with Sally series and it's about 7:30 p.m. I try and upload every Sunday. Sometimes I miss a video because, you know, family and all that. I've also recently started a midweek mystery series. And what I do there is I talk about missing persons cases and just cases that are really mysterious and don't really have answers. Or if they do have answers, we don't necessarily believe those answers. So I started that last week and I started with the case of Maura Murray. I hope you really enjoyed that and I'm definitely going to continue that on because I am obsessed with mysteries and missing people and I just want to help, if I'm honest. So today we're going to do a true crime case for this series and I'm going to talk about the case of Ernie Ibarra. Now, I'm really surprised that this case isn't spoken about more because the circumstances of the case is really ironic, and it's a case where a wife orchestrates the murder of her husband, and the reason she does this is because she wants to be a YouTube star, which people doing videos on YouTube obviously want them to do well and get hits and get lots of subscribers, and this is the primary reason why this woman kills her husband. So I was really surprised when I was looking on YouTube for inspiration, which I do for all of my videos, and there was literally one video that spoke about Ernie Ibarra, and that was on a show called American Monster, which is obviously a show that's done in America, and you can also watch it on Discovery Plus, which again I'm obsessed with. Not sponsored, by the way, but yeah, so that's where I actually found this case, on Discovery Plus, and I thought, this case definitely needs more attention bring into it because nobody speaks about it and I think it's really interesting. This case takes part in February of 2007 and this is the night when Ernie Ibarra and his wife Sam Woolford, I think that's how you say her name, are sleeping in bed and three intruders enter their home, tie up Sam, tie up Ernie and take him away and essentially kidnap him. A few days later, Ernie's body is found at a swamp in the county next to where they live. And that's the Wikipedia version of the case. But obviously we're going to go into this case in more depth, and to find out what happened to Ernie, obviously we have to go back to the beginning. So let's do that. I've just realised that I've been calling Ernie Ibarra Ernie since the start of this bloody video. What is wrong with me? I swear I have issues. I really am sorry. His name is Ernie, okay? Ernie Ibarra. Absolute moron. I seriously need to get myself, like, checked in to somewhere because I'm losing my mind. I'm really sorry. His name is Ernie Ibarra. Now, Ernie Ibarra was a kind, friendly young man. He would do anything for anybody. He would give you the shirt off his back. He was extremely intelligent, he was extremely hardworking, and he doted on his wife Sam, and he absolutely adored his children. He excelled in school, and he was primarily an expert in IT and technology, which led him to study technology when he went to college. Ernie primarily lived with his mother because his mother and father divorced when they were very little, and him and his sister lived full-time with their mother, but they had regular contact with their father. And his father went on to remarry another lady, and he had another little sister called Abby. Abby is very focal in her love for her brother, and it's really lovely to see. And I will see if I can insert a clip, but I don't know if I'll be allowed because obviously copyright and all that. But I really want to highlight the fact how much Abby loved her brother. It's really lovely. And Ernie felt the same. He doted on his family, he loved his family, and he would, like I say, literally do anything for any of them. So as I've already said, after high school he went on to college and studied technology, and then he got himself a really well paid and really difficult job at a baseball equipment company, and what he did, he was kind of a specialist in. Nobody could just walk into this company and do this job. You had to have the qualifications for it. And Ernie was so clever and so good at what he did, he managed to land this really, really good job. However, Ernie was still feeling a little bit like he wasn't whole, he didn't have everything he wanted in life. And as you can probably guess where this is going to lead, Ernie needed someone to love. He wanted a woman in his life. And in 2007, his dreams seemed to come true. He met a young lady called Sam Wolford online. I think it was on Facebook. This is where they first started chatting, and eventually they ended up meeting, and their romance blossomed from there. I've got a little bit of backstory on Sam. Sam was a stay-at-home mum. She already had a set of 18-month-old twins. But Sam wasn't the type of person that would just stay at home and be a mum. She liked to be social, and she liked to make friends, and she liked to be on social media all the time. Her phone was her life. She would literally live on her phone, and she obviously used her phone to contact people and go on social media. And that's just the type of person that she was. Whereas Ernie was complete opposite. He liked to keep his life very private, and he didn't have as many friends. He had friends, but he had a handful of friends that he knew he could trust. So they were kind of the polar opposites in that aspect. But you know what they say, opposites attract. So they did end up starting this relationship. The relationship started off incredibly well. They were very loving with each other. They showed a lot of affection towards each other. They would talk about each other constantly. And by this point, Sam did have a YouTube channel, and she would go on the YouTube channel and she would talk about Ernie, and she would tell her subscribers or her followers about how much she loved this boy and how she loved him to death, and how the relationship was going so well, and she's so glad she met him. And it's all kind of cute and lovey-dovey, and Ernie worked really hard to provide for her and the twins that she already had from a previous relationship. He took on those twins as his own, and he was a wonderful stepfather to them. Unfortunately, during the first few years of their relationship, Ernie did get into a little bit of trouble in his personal life. He had a couple of run-ins with the law, and they would tend to pull him over on like traffic offences and such things like that. But on one occasion, Ernie, whether he was completely fed up of being pulled over for either no reason or for tiny offences, or he was just having a really bad day, nobody really knows, he actually ended up in a scuffle with the police officer, and he was arrested for attacking a public service worker. And for doing this, he was actually sentenced to some time in prison, where he served 12 months. After serving his time in prison and being away from his family and his friends, once he came out, he was a very different person. He was still very loving and very kind, but he seemed to mature a lot more, and he seemed to know exactly what he wanted. And even though he wanted Sam, he wanted his life to be even more private now. And he was just now a grown-up. He was a grown-up man, and he didn't want to do the childish stuff that Sam tended to do. It just changed in prison, and this happens a lot. He just grew into an adult, grown-ass man. Obviously, once he moved out of prison and he was now a grown-up, he decided that he wanted to make things official with Sam, and they should move in together. And this is what they did. They moved in together, and everything seemed wonderful to begin with. They settled into this lovey-dovey family life. They would have meals together, and they would play with the children, and they would have movie nights, and they would go out on days out, and they just looked like a well-rounded, happy family from the outside. In 2011, so this will be 4 years after the couple got together, they decided to extend their family, and they actually had babies of their own. They ended up having another set of twins, and they called them Gerard and Keely, and they are the most adorable little kids in the entire world. They are absolutely beautiful, and Ernie really doted on his children. He loved them very much. But times were tough, and they were a family of 6 now, and money was tight. Sam obviously wasn't working because she was at home raising the children, and Ernie decided that he needed to get a second job on top of the job that he already had to provide for his family. So he ended up working part-time at a local pizzeria. He didn't mind doing this. He was extremely tired and exhausted from having 4 children, But he would tell friends and family that he needed to do this because he needed to provide for his family and he couldn't expect anybody to do it for him. So he seemed quite happy to provide for his family, and he just got on with life, I think you could say. As the twins grew, Ernie got this idea that now that they were old enough, Sam could actually go out and find work, and this became a massive source of contention in their relationship because Sam, being the person that she is, decided that she would, instead of going out to find work like a normal job, she would turn her YouTube channel into something that earns money. So she wanted to get subscribers and get sponsors and basically turn herself into a brand and earn money that way. Now, being a YouTuber myself, it's extremely, extremely difficult to earn money from videos. You have to have the subscribers and you have to have a topic that people are interested in. I've noticed on my channel I have some videos that have done very, very well because it's a topic that people are interested in. And then I've had some videos that have essentially flopped because people at this particular moment in time aren't interested in this and they're not searching for this, or the algorithm isn't interested in this kind of video. And obviously people are demonetized and all that kind of thing, and you have to be really careful of copyright laws. So it's really, really hard to actually become a paid YouTuber. My boyfriend as well, for example, he is a YouTuber and he is now a paid YouTuber, but he's not earning thousands of pounds a month. Sometimes he's lucky if he comes out with £100. But he had to get 1,000 subscribers and get so many hits on videos to earn this money. So it's not easy to become a YouTubing star. For example, anybody can have a YouTube channel and just enjoy it, which is what I do. Obviously, I like the subscribers and I like the hits, but I'm not in this for the money. I've got a normal job that I go to, well, when I'm not furloughed. But she seemed to think that she didn't need to get a normal job because she was going to make this channel work. Despite the fact that, looking at her channel, which I have, she didn't really have one specific topic that she spoke about. She would kind of flip-flop, doing different things. She was an eccentric person. She dyed her hair a lot. She wore a lot of makeup. She had tattoos, and she would talk about this. But then on the flip side, she would talk about how she's a mother, and she would give tips on how to be an effective parent and a well-organised parent, despite the fact that that's not what she was. And on the other side, she would do serious topics. Like, I watched one video where she's talking about school shootings.
Hey guys, it's been forever since I did a video, and that's because somebody decided it was a fabulous idea right before Christmas to steal a bunch of stuff out of my car, and in those things was my camera. So I'm going to do a video over the school shooting.
And she's very controversial in the way she speaks about it, but she's not afraid to give her opinion. And that's not always a bad thing, but in some cases, people don't want to watch that thing and they worry about subscribing to somebody that speaks about this in the way that she did. It's really hard to explain. Maybe you should go and have a look at it yourself, but I just don't know whether she would be able to get a lot of revenue off the type of channel she was doing anyway. But she seemed to think she can, and she was very confident that she would smash this and would one day become famous. So as I said, Ernie was working 2 jobs in order to keep his family afloat, and Sam was staying at home and focusing on her YouTube channel. However, being a stay-at-home parent, Ernie did have some expectations of her, and I think these expectations are well-founded. If the parent is staying at home, even with children, there are certain things that they can still do. For example, Ernie would come home from working his second job late in the evening. He would walk in and say to Sam, "Is there any food in the house so I can have some dinner?" He didn't expect her to make it. He just asked if there was food in the house, and she would say, "Oh no, I've ordered pizza." But she hadn't been shopping in weeks. And that is something that I've been both. I've been a working mum and I've been a stay-at-home mum. And when I was a stay-at-home mum, I always made sure there was food in the house. I never pandered to my boyfriend. If he wants to have dinner and I've already eaten because he's at work, he can sort himself out. Unless I'm cooking something big, and then obviously I'll dish him up a plate. But Sam wasn't doing any of this. She wasn't even cleaning the house. So Ernie would come home, possibly late in the day, exhausted, and the house would be a pigsty. Like, Sam had done nothing. And in my opinion, there's no excuse for that, because by the time he comes home, the children are usually in bed. So surely once the children have gone to bed, she could have picked up their toys and whizzed around with the Hoover maybe. if she was disabled or anything like that, I'd understand a bit more, but it just seemed like she was focusing all of her energy on her YouTube channel and not supporting the family as a whole and not helping Ernie in any way whatsoever. 18 months after starting her YouTube channel, Sam was getting frustrated. She realised that her videos were not getting the hits they needed to earn money, and she didn't have that many subscribers. So her videos were averaging under 100 hits per video, and some of these videos had been up for months and months, 18 months, and they still weren't getting 100 viewers. So Ernie expressed to her how maybe it would be time for her to go and get a proper job because they needed money and she wasn't bringing in any money. But Sam was convinced that she could make this work. She said that she had an idea, and this idea was to rebrand her channel.
Hey guys, we're doing the mommy tag. This is my mom, Rose.
Hi guys.
Okay. The first question, what was I like as a child?
Not much different than you are now. Spoiled ass rotten.
Okay. What do you think of me making YouTube videos?
Well, I guess I don't mind. Takes up a lot of time. She really tries to put a lot into this, guys. There's always something going on. You always have to be on the watch because you never know what you do or what you say if it's going to end up on YouTube.
Not around my house.
We had a vacation trip not so long ago. I find out that you guys get to visit part of that trip. I hope you guys have all come to love and adore her as much as I have because she is absolutely fantastic.
Aww.
I love you, Sammy.
I love you, Mom.
Bye, guys.
So she started doing intros and outros, and she would bring guests onto her show and she would talk about different topics. A lot of makeup. She wanted to do product reviews. That's the kind of thing that she wanted to do. One of the guests that she actually brought onto her show was her mother. And you can see in this video, again I'll see if I can share a clip, that even her mother isn't 100% confident that this is the way that Sam should be going. Like, she shouldn't be focusing all her energy onto a YouTube channel that isn't doing anything. And Ernie obviously shared these opinions as well. It is very clear by this point that Ernie does not like being videoed. He is not interested, he's not comfortable with himself being videoed, but Sam tends to ignore this. She just does whatever the hell she pleases, and she ignores Ernie's concerns and continues to film every aspect of their life. Their personal life, their arguments, the kids, just everything that she could possibly share online, she shared, and Ernie was extremely uncomfortable with this. It even got to the point where Sam was either completely oblivious to the way that this was affecting her relationship and the way it was upsetting Ernie, or she simply didn't give a damn, and she was going to do what she wanted anyway. Ernie even brought up to her the fact that he was really uncomfortable with his children being filmed and being put on the internet, because all types of creeps can be on the internet, which I understand. And he came to Sam and he said that he was extremely, extremely uncomfortable with this. Again, she either was completely oblivious to what he was saying or she did not care, because only a matter of weeks later she filmed her daughter dancing in the car. But the issue with this is that she was clearly driving the car while her daughter was doing this, so she was filming and driving, and this severely concerned Ernie, and this was the breaking point for him. So he decided in 2012 that was enough, and he decided to move out. At this point, Sam was really, really suffering with her mental health. You could see in her videos that there was a drop in her mood. She was very depressed, and she would talk about Ernie like he was the scum of the earth. She was just really severely depressed and really, really struggling, and you could clearly see this in her videos. By 2013, Sam had had an accident at the local Walmart where a changing station had actually fallen on her. I don't know how this happened. I couldn't find how this happened. Was it in the toilets? Or was she browsing changing stations and they fell off the shelf? I don't know. Either way, she had an injury and she hurt her knee, and she really, really struggled to look after the children on her own. Ernie's sister Abby, who I spoke about earlier, did help her during this time, and they actually became quite close. She would go around and help Sam look after the children and cook and clean and all those kind of things, because she could sense that Sam was struggling, and she was struggling to do everyday things and watch the children while she had a bad knee. But Abby also noticed that despite everything, Sam was still happy to film everything and post everything online. And even Abby was starting to get uncomfortable with this, because it's just strange that it was a constant thing, and they just weren't a family that liked to share every nitty-gritty detail of their life. Ernie, being the wonderful man that he was, saw Sam in the state that she was in, and obviously heard from his family that Sam was really struggling. And despite everything, Ernie still loved the woman. He adored Sam. So he decided later in that year that he was going to move back home and they were going to give it another go. And there's nothing wrong with this. They thought that they can, Ernie thought he could make it work, and maybe if he spoke to Sam again, things would be different. But obviously, as we know, things don't always work the way you want them to, and you can't change a person. A leopard never changes their spots. It's something that my nana always said to me. So I don't know whether it was just wishful thinking on his behalf. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, Ernie decided to go back home and move back in with his girlfriend and children. In the May of that year, the couple had some very exciting news.
I've decided to do a, pregnancy vlog. I took a pregnancy test last night and it came back. I couldn't tell whether it was positive or negative. The marks on it was so light. I honestly thought it was negative. Right now is not a good time for me to be pregnant. Not to mention I was taking birth control. So I didn't think it could be positive. But it freaked me out nonetheless. And I had a few people look at it and they couldn't tell either if it was positive or negative. So I bought some of those clear blue pregnancy tests that say pregnant or not pregnant so you can tell for sure. And that's a little, no, I'm not exactly excited about that.
They had discovered that they were pregnant again, and I know what a lot of people are going to think. I can already see it in my comments. Do they seriously think that another baby is going to help fix their relationship? Why would they bring another baby into this toxic environment? Nobody knows, nobody can judge, but they did. However, it did become very clear that Sam was not happy about this. I've seen the videos on this, and she is depressed. She feels trapped. She just doesn't want this baby, but she goes through with it anyway. Who knows why? Maybe Ernie wanted her to, so she decided to respect him for once. I don't know. Maybe she saw it as a money-making thing, so she can go through a pregnancy and a labour and film it all and post it all on YouTube, and that would be the thing that kicked off her channel. I don't know. But regardless, they decided to have this baby. And then baby Caden was born at the end of 2013, so December. And this seemed to turn things around. Sam's videos were more upbeat and more uplifting. Ernie even seemed more comfortable being in front of the camera, and they just seemed like the perfect little family. And everything seemed to be going well. Sam was wearing makeup again and doing her videos again, and she was just happy, and it just seemed like a really good moment. Even Ernie's family said that the family just seemed happy, and Ernie was not concerned in the slightest about the fact that he now had 5 little mouths to feed, and he was quite happy to work his arse off to get money for his family, and that just shows his character, really. I wouldn't want to work 2 jobs, but I don't suppose he did. But he was happy to provide for his family, and things just seemed to be on the up for this couple. They even got married in 2014, so 7 years after they got together. They decided to tie the knot in a very quiet ceremony. Not many people were around, but what people have said about the service is that it was beautiful and they looked very much in love. Despite the fact that from the outside everything in the family looked absolutely wonderful and fantastic, this was all a complete show. Sam and Ernie were beginning to struggle again. Ernie was really struggling with Sam's addiction to filming everything and putting everything on YouTube. He really still did not like it. At one point, Abby, Ernie's sister, was round at Sam and Ernie's home, and Ernie came home from work and he was complaining about how messy the house was, and Sam mentioned to Abby that Ernie was hitting her. Sam would go on to show her some bruises on her body and say that they were getting very violent arguments and very violent fights, and Ernie would end up lashing out at her. The family was shocked by this allegation. They did not think that Ernie was the type that would go around hitting women. He'd never shown any kind of aggression to anybody. So they were really surprised by what Sam was saying, and despite the allegations, Ernie decided to stay in the family home and still continue to work on his relationship with Sam. Now this is probably the downfall for him. This is the moment that I think he should have got out while he still could. Unfortunately he didn't, and what happened, and it's all very completely tragic. Sam continues to post videos of life hacks for families with multiple children. She did one video talking about how she got her kids to school on time.
Good morning, YouTubers. It's been a while, but my friend gave me a wonderful idea, so I'm going to maximize on it and change it. She wanted to have tips and pointers on how I get through life, so I figured I could do like a daily tip on maximizing your time and making things go smoother. For example, this morning my alarm didn't wake me up. It ended up waking me up 30 minutes later than it needed to, which left me with about 15 minutes to get the girls dressed and down to the bus. So, thankfully, I always put their clothes out and set it out after the bath time. We have our jeans, shirts, shoes, the whole 9 yards set out right beside the bed on the dresser. So when we get up, I quickly got them dressed and we made a mad dash for the bus stop, carrying a hairbrush in hand and running down, brushing their hair and pulling it into a ponytail. A plus note, I buy scrunchies that have little things, flowers or things attached to it, so when I pull their hair up, looks like I took 15 minutes deciding on how to accessorize, and less than 15 minutes they were dressed, ready to go, and down by the bus.
And this would be her last ever video on YouTube, because on the 20th of February 2015, Sam made an urgent 911 call. She claims that her and her husband were sleeping at night and 3 intruders broke into their home and kidnapped her husband, and she didn't know where he was. They had also tied her up and smashed her face into the floor. The police obviously responded to this, and all of this is caught on body cam. And you can see Sam taking the police officer around the home, showing him all the ropes and the silk and things that had been used to tie her up. But the police obviously needed a full statement about this, so they took Sam down to the police station to get a witness statement, I think is what they probably took her down for initially. During this interview at the police station, Sam became very emotional. She told the detectives that 3 people had broken into her home and she suspected that they were men because she did not hear any female voices. They had ripped her and Ernie out of their beds and hog-tied her arms and legs behind her back while slamming her face into the floor. She said that she managed to kind of look out of her peripheral vision and she could see that they were beating the crap out of Ernie, and she didn't even know whether he was able to be alive at this point. And then she also claims that she saw them wrapping something around Ernie's face and it looked like it was something that went from here to here. So she didn't know whether her husband could even breathe at this point. They then picked up Ernie and took him out of the home. She managed to get out of her restraints, and that's when she called 911. She later tells the detectives that she has a theory of who this could be. She says that a few days earlier she was at a hospital with her friend, Charlotte Morris, and she was talking to Charlotte about all the abuse that she was getting from Ernie, And it just so happened that there was also a man in this room at the time. And she said that this man had told her that he would take care of it. The police obviously pressured her for a name for this person, and she told the police that his name was John Rebel, or at least that's the name that he goes by on Facebook. Now, if he's a random man that she meets at the hospital and tells him everything that's been happening, and he says he's going to take care of it, how would she know his name from Facebook? Did she search for him afterwards? Because he said he'd take care of it, which is suspicious anyway, or did she actually know him before? I find that very strange. Like, how would she know what his name is on Facebook if she'd claimed to only met him at the hospital? I wonder about that. The police then had to go on a search for this John Rebel character, and they left Sam in the interrogation room. There is footage of Sam in the interrogation room, and it's really interesting because she still seems to be playing up for the cameras. She knows exactly where the cameras are in that room, and she writes on a whiteboard, "Have you found my husband yet?" And then she points at it aggressively while looking directly at the camera. You can clearly see, if you look at it really closely, that this is an act. A normal person who had just watched their husband be kidnapped, I don't think would be behaving this way in the interrogation room. That is really strange and odd behaviour, and I do not understand that. That is very suspicious to me as well. But maybe I'm just a suspicious person. Because the police were trying to track down John Rebel, they decided to go to the hospital and talk to Charlotte Morris. Now, while they were there, they found a man that matched John Rebel's description, and they arrested him on the spot. They later found out his real name, which is Jonathan Sanford. Also at this moment, they arrested another man who happened to be Sanford's brother-in-law. His name is Jose Ponce. So both men were arrested and taken down to the police station to be questioned. Knowing that they were facing murder charges, Sanford quickly confessed to what had happened. He was not holding back on any information. He was terrified. Sanford also gave the name of a third accomplice, which was Octavius Rhymes, and he was ex-Marine. So the police decided that they would also go out and arrest Rhymes and bring him in for questioning as well. All three men were very open with what they were about to say. They were obviously terrified that they were going to be done for murder, rightly so. So they just told everything. Sanford quickly cracks to the point that he tells police that he knows where the body is, and he takes them to the body. This is again caught on police body cam, and again I'll see if I can find it. And he takes them to a swamp that is in the next county, and this is where the police find the naked and dead body of Ernie Ibarra. He had been shot once in the back of the head and was lying dead on the floor. His family at this point were obviously notified about the fact that they had found his body, and they were obviously devastated. At this point, I don't think anybody suspected Sam at all, not even the police, but they were just about to find out that this was in fact planned and orchestrated by none other than his wife, Sam. Once back at the police station, Sanford, Rhymes and Ponce all very quickly told them that this whole thing was Sam's idea. It is unclear how the plan came about, but I'm assuming it is true what she said about the hospital, that she's spoken to them at the hospital and asked them to kill her husband because he was abusing her. And it could quickly be proven that Sam knew these men before they went in and killed her husband, because on the day of the crime, or the night before the crime, Sanford and Sam both went to dinner to discuss the plan, to tweak out the finer details, and then the following day Sanford claims that he took her children to the local Walmart, and if you bring up the CCTV, they found that this to be credible. Sanford had in fact taken Sam's children to Walmart with him, so this could all be proven and backed up. The police were fuming at this point because they believed everything that Sam had said. So they went into the interrogation room where Sam was still sat. They told her that they had found the dead body of her husband and basically told her to cut the crap because they knew the truth. They knew that Sanford, Ponce and Rhymes were involved, and they knew that Sam had orchestrated the whole thing. Sam, being the actress that she is, denied this. She even sweared on her children's life that she had nothing to do with this crime, which floors me because she obviously has something to do with this crime, and for a mother to swear on their child's life really gets my goat. I fucking hate it when parents do this, especially when they're known to be liars. especially when they know they're liars. It just doesn't make sense to me. Rhymes also goes on to tell the detectives that Sam had been trying to find someone to kill her husband Ernie for months. She had been contacting hitmen and asking people that she knew if they knew anybody that would commit a murder for her. So she wanted her husband dead, and it was so obvious. On the 23rd of February, 3 days after the kidnap and murder, all 4 people, so Sam Walford, Octavius Rhymes, Jonathan Sanford and Hosea Ponce, were all charged with aggravated kidnapping and the murder of Ernie Ibarra. The motive for this, as far as the detectives could find, is that Ernie was planning on leaving his wife because of the social media and YouTube stuff, and she was afraid that he was going to take her children. So this is the motive that was used in court, and it was a very good motive. Even the family believed that this is a very solid motive, because they thought that Ernie was going to be leaving her, and he would take the children because she was a danger to herself and to them. She was depressed, and then she was doing silly things like filming in a moving car, and he was concerned about the children's safety, so he probably would have filed for full custody. It later came out that Jose Ponce is actually the one that fired the shot that killed Ernie, but that didn't matter, because all 4 of them were culpable for his murder, and all 4 of them were charged and sentenced for this. Sam was convicted to 50 years in prison for the aggravated kidnapping, and then another 99 years for murder. Octavius Rhymes got 23 years for the aggravated kidnapping and another 50 years for the first-degree murder charge, and the other 2 actually pled guilty to their crimes, so they got 50 years each in prison. So all of them will be serving a very, very, very long time. Samantha Walford will never get out of prison. She will be in there for the rest of her life. It's unclear what happened to her children. I think they were all being raised by grandparents and that such thing. It's going to be very traumatic for them as they grow, knowing what their mother did to their father. But at least Sam is where she needs to be. How it got to the point that she decided she was going to kill her husband is beyond me. She clearly thought she could get away with this. She thought she was a fantastic actor, and she thought that nobody's going to suspect her. So she thought that she would quite easily get away with this, but she didn't. She underestimated the work of the police department. That's just the way it is. So that is the case of Ernie Ibarra. I hope you really enjoyed that today. Thank you for spending time with me. If you have any suggestions, I actually have a new suggestions form that you can now fill in, whether you're a relative or not. You can fill in the form and I will get back to you, and we'll look into the cases you suggest. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell notification. And if you see my videos over on any other social media, please like, comment and share. I also now have a Facebook page, which is called Passion of Crime. Please go over and give that a like. I update on everyday crimes, I do some past crimes, and I put all my videos in there so you can find them quite easily. That would be fantastic. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you stay safe, and please don't kill anybody or plan to kill anybody. I love you guys and have a wonderful day. Bye.